Hey, Dad, he needs help.
Who needs help?
Ian. His device is connected, see?
Text him my phone number. We're live right now, by the way. Text him my phone number and have him call me.
All right, will do.
Let me take this down, though. We're live. All right, guys, welcome to the lounge. And I'm drinking a non-alcoholic Blue Monkey plum juice, 100% today. Going to be an alcohol-free show, maybe. Stefanos, you give me alcohol tonight, free tonight, or what? No, you had to get the beer, didn't you? Lots going on. We got a bunch of lab rats that might be called tonight or tomorrow night. People are getting quite upset about this. I got to hand it to Katie Pisitny and those people at the ostrich farm. They have done a great job of lying to millions and millions of people and pulling out their heartstrings and grifting like there's no tomorrow. And it's been nothing but half truths. You know, I don't want any animal to die unnecessarily, but bottom line, my opinion, these are lab rats. And they've been lab rats since 2021 when the Japanese biolab students came there and started injecting them with who knows what. The people at the now this is all in my opinion a secondhand, but from what we've been able to see through court notices, etc., been a lot of half truths put out there. The drama's been unbelievable. The crocodile tears. She's such a good actress. I guess she learned that when she was a reporter for Global TV out in British Columbia I think she left Global back in 2014.
I can do better than that.
How?
I've seen Rick Walker, even though I don't like him, I think he's a dick, but he had a great interview with her, and along with Dixon, is it, or something, that Bobby Cop guy? And she admitted to not even having licenses and all this stuff. So, you know, they were even doing without licensing. And then she finally done it today. She popped out the plastic bubbles. She went and flashed right up. I guess I was supposed to stop the CFIA or something. I don't know. I don't know what the purpose was, but that was pretty funny.
Well, it looks like and they're going to be on the hook for a lot of money. They're going to be liable for. They're going to have a big bill to pay, and I don't think they got the money to pay it. And
they got the money. They got enough, more than enough money from everyone they grifted. There was several fundraisers going on. They got a huge amount of money, man. Trust me. She's got enough to cover costs. Who knows? Maybe she'll maybe she'll start another ostrich farm.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. I got no problem with ostrich farms. The problem I got is when you get
I have a problem with biolabs. That's not not farming, and that's big pharma, period.
Biolabs. And you know what's interesting? This could have all been avoided had they put up some netting to keep the wild birds out of the ostriches and kept a little bit of contact, like separated them.
It's an open air level 3 biolab. They should be not in the open air, but that's what happened.
So CFI was quite lenient with them as far as I'm concerned, because it is a biolab. At the end of the day, you inject these birds with who knows what, Pseudomonas, as I heard, but don't quote me on that. We don't know what the hell's going on here. They've been very dishonest with the public in general. A half truth is still a lie. So if they're feeding us all this information and only half of it's true, well, why not give it all to us? Like, that's what we do. That's why we come on here. We want to give you this much of the whole story so you can make an educated, logical, ethical. Is there any such thing as ethics in this country anymore?
I don't see any. Oh, wait, I shouldn't say that. Yes, I'm an ethical person. I'm an ethics person, of course.
Well, you know, I don't know. It's disturbing. It's sad that these birds are going to get killed, but they're lab rats. And that's it. At the end of the day, they're lab rats. Were they able to test them? I don't agree with PCR testing, especially as soon as you get over 35 cycles, from what I heard last night from Dr. Speaker. That's the threshold. After 35 cycles, it's garbage. It's a bullshit test. So CFIA, how much money have they spent on there? How much money we spent on?
Who knows? Probably close to like $1 million. Who knows? I have no idea.
What happened to that 5-year-old toddler that went missing in BC? Did they find him or did he pass away?
Good question. I don't know about that either.
I sure would have rather had those RCMPs searching for that 5-year-old. Hopefully they helped in some way, but I don't know, the whole thing stinks to high hell. It smelt rotten back in May. It smelled worse in June, July, August. We're drip feeding you guys a little bit by little bit by little bit as we found it. We showed you guys court documents, sworn affidavits, Stefanos.
Yep. And we're talking Karen's affidavits, everybody's affidavits are all sworn. And they're birds. They were sick going way back. There's been multiple times. It wasn't just a PCR test. And like I've said before, and I'll say it again, you can't, why would they not challenge the testing? But here they're saying they want to test the birds. They wanted to test the birds so bad and saying that they won't let them test it, they would have challenged the testing. And we've seen in the appeal, their own lawyer said they did not challenge the testing. And I'm just saying, if you're not challenging the testing, that means you agree with the testing. That's the bottom line. Either you challenge it or you agree with it in court, and that's what it was. They didn't challenge it. So that was all a line of crap they were giving everybody, saying they wanted to test the birds. If they wanted to, they would have challenged it. Because legally, from a legal strategy, you would automatically challenge the testing because that's their strongest evidence against you. If they got a PCR test or a tissue test or whatever, you're going to want to dispel that. But you see, they didn't dare challenge that because I'm afraid they would have known what would have been found, and they're not going to want to do that. It would be an instant loss right then and there.
I'm wondering. That's a very
hold on, Kelly. You're so freaking wrong. So here, let's put this up here. Right? No, that's bullshit. Okay, where is it? Is that the one? No. Hold on. She's yipping and yipping and yipping. Let me see. Which one are we looking for now? She had said something there. I think it's this one. There we go. The court should have been forced to test those birds. Egregious and undermining due process. Bullshit. Were you not just listening to me? Did you not look at the court papers in the appeal and it said in there, they did not challenge the testing. So you can't force the courts. If you want to challenge the testing, you would have brought it right up there and you would have challenged the testing so the courts would they would seek an order for the courts to freaking let them test the birds on an independent vet or whatever the way they want to do it. You see, then that way they would have done it. So no, this $200,000, that's all part of the grift. That's all part of the BS because, hey, if they were going to be wanting to do their testing, they would have challenged the testing and they would have asked the courts to let them test it. They wouldn't have been subjected to any fine if a court order would have been passed, but they didn't challenge it. So they didn't challenge it because, like I said, either you go against it or you're going to agree with it, or you're going to try to play it safe and hope you can sneak by on something else, which you never would because the testing is the nail in the coffin. No, you can say jail time and $200,000 fine all you want, but if they would have challenged it in the court and there would have been an order of the judge saying allow them to test it, they're not going to get $200,000. They're not going to get jail time. That's just a crock of shit that they were feeding everybody because They didn't test it. They didn't want to test it. They didn't challenge the testing. So that's part of the grift, period. And it's got nothing to do with farming. So that's another part of the fucking grift. They do not produce food products. It's in the court document. And in the court document, it says, to be clear, we do not produce food products, and they are a biomedical facility. Period. It's a biolab. They don't do food. So you can't lie. You can't repeat the lies, and you're not going to fool anyone when you have their own court documents that are all right there. So there you go. Period. They're not a farm. They may have been a farm at one point in time, maybe in 2017, 18, when they were selling meat and stuff, but they sure as hell ain't a farm now. That's for sure. Not gonna happen. And definitely many people seen with their own eyes when they started looking at those court documents. And that's the bottom line. I kept posting a lot of this stuff. And look what they've done. They actually harmed real farmers, real poultry farmers, because they started putting bans on Canadian poultry because of all that stuff. And if you looked at the bans, you'll see they're all over the place in BC and stuff, all over the place. And that's because of this kind of garbage. Did you ever stop and ask yourself why any of the local farmers weren't backing them? I'll do you one better. You ever ask yourself why you didn't have people like PETA involved? There was dead silence. You know why? Because PETA says they are against this kind of stuff. They didn't say particularly UFO, but PETA is against testing on animals. That's cruelty to animals, period. And they're not all got a name. They're not your pet because you don't inject and cause distress. And some of them died when they injected them. Other ones got sick. You don't repeatedly do cruel things to make your pet sick and possibly die by injecting stuff in it. You don't, none of that stuff. And you don't grind up your pets to make dog food, okay? They're other company. So, and you don't kill your pets to what they were doing to sell skin for boots and meat for people to eat and whatever. That's your pet. That's so fucking funny. I love the narrative. These guys must have had a fucking like a list of paper written word for word. It's all word for word if you ever notice everybody who says this. And they all say they're healthy animals. How do you know they're healthy animals? As far as I know, they're as sick as fuck, and who knows what the hell they're injecting them. And with their own admission, said when they inject them, that makes them sick, and some die. So that's fucking bullshit, straight up.
What's this comment? See how she feels about people losing everything, supporting a grift.
Oh yeah, a guy actually who was done a video on that he's lost all this money and everything. He's been down there supporting them and all that, and now he's got nothing. He's about to be homeless and asking people to donate to him, so he's got a place to live. How's that for a grift?
Yeah. Okay, can you explain to Kelly what livestock is and what lab rats are? She has no freaking idea.
I just did, Ed. I just said you don't kill your pets to make dog food. You don't kill your pets to make boots and steaks for people to eat. You don't get your pets dying. You don't make them sick by injecting Lord only knows what, because nobody really knows what's been injected to them.
Yeah.
Remember, we had foreign people coming over from foreign countries injecting them. It wasn't an authorized lab. There was no license for it. There was nothing.
Whoa, back up. These were students that were working with Dr. Ostrich that came over from Japan.
Sakamoto. You mean the guy with the WEF that done the glowing COVID mask from ostrich cells?
With those people, there are students that came from Japan to show not Katie but her mom how to do the injections. Okay.
Right, but not only that, but Sakamoto, they were part owners in that company with him, and that's in the court record too, by the way. So that's not just bullshit. And not only that, um, you turn around and they try to say that crap. It's not a farm, it's a biolab. We already said that. Maybe way before they became a biolab. So like I said, 2017, 18, they were a farm. Not now. They're a biolab.
Technically speaking, while they had raising these birds for, be it feathers, oil, meat, dog food, human food, if they're selling it for that purpose, technically, yeah, that would classify them as a farm in my world. But as soon as you start injecting these birds with experimental, who knows what, it's no longer a farm. Now it becomes a biolab. This is the first thing, and it's right at the center. And this is why I'm upset. I don't like any of my friends, family, or extended family being tested with mRNA vaccines. And I was begging people to wait. But that was okay. So now these birds get injected with, we still don't know exactly what. We still don't know, but we know there's some injected with something that was causing them to produce something else. And we don't know how many different batches there were or the other stuff. I still haven't found that data. And until I get it in court documents, I'm going to err on the side of caution. How do you know this isn't a gain of function experiment? Got to remember, these people are upset because they're losing contracts, they're losing money. And at the end of the day, they're losing money. Follow the money, people. It's always about the money. Yeah.
Well, Ed, that's a good point that you put. And you remember, so look, she keeps going on. That's been answered 1,000 times. Look at this stupidity. Look at this stupidity. Independently tested. And again, didn't we already address that? They never challenged the testing. They were fine with it. Like I said, they got to be like, it's a script they're all reading from word for word. Because if you ever notice, they all say the same shit. I was even seeing it today. They're killing 400 healthy ostriches. There was like 100 and something left. There's not 400. So that was always a bullshit. And, you know, speaking of a lot of money, you're absolutely right, Ed. This is all about money. It's all about freaking money, period. They're big pharma. That's what they are, big pharma. And they were 48,000 an egg. And okay,
well, hang on. Did you see any documentation they're getting $48,000 an egg?
Yeah, it's in the court documents. That's right. Yeah, and the judge even made the comment that they truly found the golden egg. So, so what I'm saying here is they got 400 ostriches. So let's take a conservative level of numbers here. We don't know what the real number is. This is hypothetical. So let's take 400 of those ostriches, and let's say 100 of them are female, and they roughly produce something like, I think it's 15 eggs a year per ostrich, times 48,000, times 100. How many 100 millions is that a year? Like, and that's going on a conservative number, all right? Like I said, 100 out of the 400 are females.
Personally, I'm not taking any more vaccines while I'm alive. What they do to me after I'm dead, I don't give a shit. And here we are again with these fucking vaccines. We didn't have enough of this in 2021. We didn't see enough of our loved ones die since then, and the people are still dying from this shit. But no, let's go support a biolab. No,
yeah, and what was it? The University of Guelph was developing with them the COVID nasal spray vaccine. And, you know, Like, what happened to COVID being fake and it didn't exist? Wasn't Kelly and Pat King and everybody else, Jim Kerr, wasn't all of this crap like, didn't everybody say there's no such thing as COVID, that it's fake and everything? And all of a sudden we're here, and Pasitny said it many a times, they're beneficial for making COVID vaccines. They can save us. And so all of a sudden now, all these supposed free dumb movement people are all supporting the COVID and the vaccine, and you all got fucking blood on your hands. There's millions of people around the world that died from that shit and everything else. That's fucking insane. You can't make this shit up. It's so far fetched, and you can't make this shit up.
Nancy, and what a distraction it has been. You want to talk about divide and conquer?
Yeah, what happened with that?
Look how we're being divided. A lot of our viewers were on the same page. We're pretty much right down. A lot of people agreed with us. And then you got one person that thinks they know something a little bit about biology and doesn't know anything about definitions of what a farm is and what a biolab is. Okay, let's talk about licensing for a second. Are you okay with people jumping in airplanes and flying wherever the fuck they want?
No, and this is the problem. You got
why not?
you got foreign actors from other countries bringing who knows what and injecting shit into a place that's not even licensed. So, was it even being legally operated? And like, I mean, was it literally? Are you allowed to do something like this without having a license to do it? I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't know. I'd love to know that though.
So, when you got your driver's license, were you taught how to drive, or they just give you the piece of paper and say, "Here, go drive"?
No, you got to pass your test. You got to drive a bit, get a little experience under your belt with your beginners, and then you go do your license.
Okay. So basically, you learn some stuff. You learn how to do it properly. And if you're up to a suitable level of knowledge when it comes to driving a vehicle, you're supposed to get a driver's license. Now, what they do here in Ontario is you go write your test, and then they give you a G2. So it's graduated licensing here in Ontario. And then you're allowed to go behind the wheel, but only during certain hours of the day. You can't go on 400 highways. I don't think you're allowed to drive at night. And you're allowed to be behind the wheel with someone beside you. I believe that's the way it is. And then after a while, I don't know if you got to wait a year or something, you can go get your G1. And there's a driving test. And then they see, all right, have you learned anything? You're kind of safe on the roads. I know it's zero alcohol for that time, period. Any accidents is a big problem. Again, still no 400 highways. And I'm not sure if you're allowed to drive at night or not, but I think I don't know if you're allowed or not. Oh yeah, and no more than one 16-year-old in the car with you, or young people or something like that.
Yeah, here, let me read something right from the court document. If you want, I can put the link in private and you can check it out yourself. But I'll read right here. This is from the owner and president, co-owner of Stuthio Bioscience Inc. Co-owner. That's the Japan guy. See? Interesting. And they say, we are presently producing neutralizing COVID-19 antibodies. These amazing antibodies also cover any variants that may come along. Wasn't everybody laughing and making fun of this variants, and they couldn't use the XI one because of the president of fucking China, and it would be an insult to them, and blah 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 blah, and all this crap. But the link's right there. It's absolutely disgusting what garbage these people were spewing, and these were the first stuff that was there. Taxpayer money funneled through ISED for grants. Imagine that. That was the $13 million. And remember, right at the start, right at the very start, they said that there's no foreign companies And remember, I brought you guys up the foreign company right from Japan that was showing that was with him, but they were saying no, there was none. This is at the very, very beginning. I don't know if anyone of you remember that when we first spoke about it on the show. So they've been dishonest from the very start. And here's something kind of disturbing: the government of Canada, or more specifically Innovation, Science, and Economic Development Canada, announced a few years ago various projects would be funded. Taxpayers would foot a bill of 2.3 billion bill for 41 different grants all across the country. Immune Biosolutions of Sherbrooke, Quebec was just one company. So you see the amount of money we are paying to have these people create something that killed millions around the world. Are you fucking kidding me? I put the link in there, Ed. Everyone can see this shit. I'm not blowing shit out my ass. This is from the court stuff.
Okay, I'm in the Canuck Law webpage. Where's it? I gotta go. Ontario Science Table, IHR.
Hold on. Let me see here. I'll tell you right at the start. So go down. You'll see Universal Ostrich Farms Part 3, the Belinsky Affidavit and Immune Biosolutions. So you'll see this is an affidavit of Belinsky. So you'll come up the affidavit and you'll see everything is in grayed out little boxes. Right at the bottom of the grayed out little boxes, you'll see Karen Esperson, owner and president. And under her name, she's got co-owner Struthio Bioscience. So you see the grift here, right? Even on that, you got these two split their co-owners. Struthio gets the government grant of 13 million, and then they buy the eggs from Universal Ostrich Farm. So you got the same owner in both companies. But you'll see it's highlighted in blue. That's where they're saying about the antibodies, DNA fingerprinting program, all of this stuff. It's all in there. It's all in there. They got her LinkedIn page, link right to it. That's in the court documents. But it isn't clear in the court documents. But the LinkedIn page says a lot of stuff. It's her own stuff. So it's not bullshit. This is stuff coming out of their own mouths, all right? And
Keep scrolling down or what?
just look at that stuff where I showed you there, and you'll see, despite howls protecting the food supply, Belinsky's affidavit makes it clear that these animals aren't intended for any sort of human consumption. The ostrich farm is really an open air biolab. There you go. Boom, baby, boom. So, the second I start hearing United Nations keywords such as sustainable farming, sustainable food sources, automatically that's UN Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030 bullshit automatically. And that's just above, Ed, that's just a couple of paragraphs or so above the taxpayer money funneled through ISED for grants. That headline, just above that. So, and he did make it absolutely clear that they are not producing food. So this is like fucking crazy shit that all of a sudden you got all these people that from the free dumb movement, because clearly they're dumb, that are suddenly screaming and demanding all of this shit for the stuff that they supposedly claim was not real and that they were fighting against. And quite a few people went to jail for lengthy periods of times, having their constitutional rights violated, being kept in that system like that, trying to be persecuted. 10 years, what was it they were asking? 10 years and shit like that in prison for peacefully freaking sitting there, you know, what do you call it? Protesting, peaceful assembly. That's what I meant to say. Now, if you keep scrolling down, Ed, you'll see it says registration in-house corporation, Immune Biosolutions I'm not going to try to read it in French because I don't like that language. I can't read it. My life depended on it. And you keep going down, you'll see the registration, and now you'll see the registration status is inactive. They were initially registration start date was in 2020 12/18. Okay. Um, then you keep scrolling down, you'll see sources of funding. Get ready for this shit. When you get the sources of funding, look at that, Ed. Look at that. Look at the big numbers though. 5 million, like 5.5 million, 2 million, another freaking 5.5 million.
So that's
Right?
12
That's
million right there in those three, April 2024.
it's more than 12, isn't it? It's almost 13. So that is what we just read above about the billions of dollars taxpayers are on the hook for from Innovation, Science, and Economic Development Canada. That's the Canadian government, and that we footed that fucking bill. And now all you people that got grifted, you footed their bill, so they got a free ride all the way through all this bullshit. You know, the grift is great. And then at the bottom, you'll see there's Strategic Innovation Fund, another 5.5 million. My
Oh, yeah,
good,
right here.
my fucking goodness. My God. Are people that stupid? Like, really, are people that dumb? You got Big Pharma staring at you right in the fucking eyes here, and you're all gonna try to pull the fucking blanket over people's eyes and try to tell them that this is sustainable farming and securing a fucking food supply. They, and you still have the naysayers. They're seeing this shit right in front of their eyes, right from the courts, and they'll still try to tell you it's fucking a lie. Snake oil salesmen, don't listen to those people when they bald face lie like that. Snake oil salesmen, don't pay attention to them. You should know that's a red flag right then and there. Fucking crazy.
Either Universal Ostrich Fund Farm got a cut of the money directly from iBio, or United Ostrich Farm would make money from selling the research, thus profiting from taxpayer subsidies. While the grant went to the firm, this seems to be a distinction without a difference. People need to be asking the hard questions.
Oh, I can't help it but laugh, man. This is so fucking. And, how much did this really cost Canada? How much did this cost real farmers, the real fucking poultry farmers who couldn't sell their product because all these other countries aren't taking it anymore because of this fucking sickness and shit? How much did it really cost Canada? Please let me know.
Oh man, I got too many pages open today.
It's fucking crazy. And
Anyway,
keep doing what you're doing. I'm going to keep digging because I want to find the egg part, okay? Because this is, I don't want people to say I'm full of shit. Because everything I bring, like always, people, I always back it with fact, okay? So I want to back that with fact too.
here's an interesting comment. Kellyanne, David Spiker. Yeah, I heard him talk last night, and we asked him, is COVID-19 real? Does it exist? And you know what his answer was? I believe it does. I believe. Not I know. I believe. Is there a difference?
Huge. You know what, Ed? In those court documents, they say they purchased synthetic COVID 19, okay? Synthetic. So that's man made. So how does it exist?
Well, it's probably there's two trains of thought. Either it was bioengineered down in the States, or it was bioengineered in Winnipeg, and then those Chinese researchers got the hell out of Canada and went to work for Wuhan.
Of course they did. Of course.
So was it engineered there? I don't know.
Maybe. It's being sold in Canada, though. All these synthetic viruses, they have them all in Canada.
And how many Freedom of Information Act inquiries have we made in Canada and all over the world? And nobody can say that they've isolated the COVID-19 in a human. Okay, so we're talking make believe, we're talking something else. And I'm getting really suspicious that this may be gain of function that's happening here. Okay.
All
That's
right, Ed, go all the way to the bottom. You'll see number 2 because there's. Oh, sorry, no, you won't. I'll put this link in the.
this ostrich notice of application. Federal court documents, money, GoFundMe. Which one you want?
Here, it's going right in the private chat. You don't have to look at it, and it's right away. It's the headline. It's the headline, baby. Let's headline this mother.
Alrighty, what do we got here? Coming up. Okay. No, it's the same start page again.
No.
Oh,
It's,
part 2.
there you
The
go.
public affidavit.
Yep, Palecha's affidavit. Yes, look at what it says. Better yet, bring it up on the screen so they can see what it says.
Okay. Wrong one. Wrong one.
I fucking love this. I love nailing liars. It's so fucking good.
Part 2. Here it comes. There you go.
What does that say there?
Universal Ostrich Farms, Part 2. The Pelec affidavit, $48,000 per egg. Oh, CFIA, this is an affidavit. January 20th, 2025. A segment of the public has been following a case of British Columbia farm that was ordered. Call approximately 400 of its ostriches. The order came from the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, or CFIA, was challenged in the federal court. It was unsuccessful, but an appeal is likely. The coverage that the alternative media has shared would lead people to believe that this is simply an attack on the local food supply. However, looking a little deeper into the case, it seems that these animals had other purposes. This included being used to generate antibodies for the so-called SARS-CoV-2 virus, or rather, their eggs would be. What else have these animals been treated with? Universal Ostrich Farm series for more information. This is digging for the truth. While pleasing to some, has angered others. However, this site doesn't bend the knee just because people get annoyed. Hi, Canuck Law. What is your position on this or the purpose of your article? That, oh my God, the ostrich farm owners may have not disclosed the whole truth versus an illegitimate government that has never met a self-benefiting crime it doesn't like. Also, this isn't Liberty Talk, so don't expect some feel-good speech or interview. Now we get to the main affidavit of Stephen Pelec. The expert witness, he's a professor at the University of British Columbia, UBC, and has an interesting research specialty. He also makes it abundantly clear he believes virology is a legitimate science. Pelec clarifies ostriches used for biomedical research. In addition to these facts, I viewed several media interviews with Ms. Katie Pasitny, who's daughter of one of the owners of Universal Ostrich Farm, and this has further informed me regarding their history and the use of these ostriches for biomedical research. My own training in immunology and virology and personal experience and understanding of these fields affords me the ability to consider and weigh these issues in a knowledgeable way and offer a qualified expert opinion. Number 7, I have been actively involved in the study of coronavirus for over 5 years, especially with respect to the SARS-CoV-2 virus, which is responsible for COVID-19 and the production of antibodies against this virus in people who have been infected by this virus and or have been vaccinated against this virus. I've been involved in the development of serological tests for SARS-CoV-2 directed antibodies and the application of these tests to evaluate natural and COVID-19 vaccine-induced immunity in a 4,500 person clinical study. My experience with SARS-CoV-2 is very applicable to influenza, which is caused by a similar respiratory virus. In part 5 of my report, I will further elaborate on my experience in immunology and viral research to further establish my expertise in the matters under discussion.
Hey, Ed, can you scroll down to number 64, please?
You know what? The way she put this out is I think we should read out the highlighted green areas.
Okay, yeah, do that, but just skip to 64 really quick and then back up here.
Okay.
Just super quick. Oh.
The high
Living.
yield of IgY antibody in the yolk of ostrich eggs is extremely convenient for large-scale antibody production as it is unnecessary to subject the animal to any stress. In my own lab, we have been producing antibodies that target proteins that are important disease research for over 36 years using rabbits. For the production of rabbit antibodies, we have to obtain the blood from the animal, which involves bleeding from its ear or termination of the animal and exsanguination. From one rabbit, the median yield of affinity purified antibody is in its own hands of about 1.5 milligrams. In the biomedical research reagent market, this amount of antibody against an interesting target protein is worth about 6 grand if it is all sold. For comparison, from one ostrich egg, around 12 milligrams, which would be about 8 times more, or more of an affinity purified antibody can be obtained, which would be worth about $48,000. How's my math? 6 times 8, 48,000. If it was all sold, literally, ostrich hens can lay golden eggs. The right proteins are targeted for development of highly desirable antibodies. Moreover, due to their long reproductive lifespans, ostriches can keep producing more eggs over a period of decades. To get to the heart of the matter, these ostriches are a gold mine. Pellet steps out of his role as a scientific expert to make an economic case for why these birds should be spared.
There you go, Ed. It's all about the fucking money. It's the big fucking money. And like I said, hundreds of millions, 100 million at least. I know it's more, but at least in a year, per year. Of course, they're going to make all this fucking bullshit up. Of course, they're going to fucking lie, all that shit. Of course. But yeah, you go back up to 31 where you were at and continue.
I don't know.
It's fucking crazy, Ed. It's fucking crazy, man. That's all I got to say. The great grift of 2025, 100%. Sorry, that was me, Marcel.
Okay, there are two major types of testing used to determine whether a person or animal is actively infected with a pathogen like influenza. A nucleic acid test, NAT, most commonly the reverse transcription PCR, polymerase chain reaction based test, has been used for detection of the RNA component of the virus. So they're only looking for the RNA.
Yeah, the RNA. So I wonder what is RNA and what's the difference when they add an M in front of RNA?
It's manufactured. It
Right.
relies
So
on
that's your COVID-19 jabs, correct? mRNA vaccines. Hmm.
It relies on amplification of the viral nucleic acid material through repeated heating and cooling cycles of separation and annealing, which means softening in the metallurgy world, of the nucleic acid strands, with a doubling of the genetic material with each thermal cycle. It means that somehow it's growing or they're doubling it. The other type of test is the rapid antigen test, RAT, which typically detects the presence of a viral protein. Now, how specific is this, though? The main issue with the
Remember, they
PCR,
were accurate. Remember, Ed, they were saying depending on the amount of times that they were cycled, that they could go all the way back from the day you were born. Apparently, I don't know how those tests work exactly, but they're supposed to be inaccurate. Remember, they were testing pineapple juice and motor oil, and it was coming back positive. So,
yeah, and then they killed that president. It was
oh,
President
the
Zimbabwe.
creator wasn't it the creator of it?
No, it was the president, I believe, of Zimbabwe, and they had him killed shortly after he had it tested and released the results of the pineapple, the motor oil, and the banana all being COVID-19 positive.
What would you expect from a banana republic? Okay,
Hey, you're living in one. Don't give me that. Don't give me that attitude.
exactly what I'm talking about.
The main issue with PCR test is that often employs a high number of thermal cycles, which can generate a large percentage of false positive results. Now, David Speaker, he also mentioned last night, as soon as you get over 35 cycles, it's like 98% false negatives. So they're saying you got it, but you actually don't. And that's what we're seeing also. People saying I feel totally healthy. And back in 2021, 22, 23, when they were pushing for people get tested all the time, they said I felt fine. I didn't feel sick at all. And yeah, they tested positive, and I wasn't able to see my, older mom in a retirement home or going to the hospital to visit friends because these bullshit tests.
Didn't they call them asymptomatic too? On top of it,
Oh yeah, you're sick, but because you're asymptomatic means you don't have any symptoms. Okay, makes total sense to me. Anyways, individuals can still test positive with the RT-PCR test 2 weeks after they have fully recovered from COVID-19 and are non-contagious. It is not possible to amplify the viral protein material in a rapid antigen test, so it suffers from a lack of sensitivity and can often generate false negatives. Depending on the specificity of the antibody detection reagent used, it may also cross-react with related proteins found in other influenza strains and produce false positives for a target strain such as H5N1. It is somewhat problematic that only a PCR test for H5N1 was performed on two of the ostriches that died in January of this year. As pointed out in the previous section, performed at a high thermal cycle CT number, this test has a high rate of false positives. It is unclear at what CT number the test was performed by the CFIA. See, here the CFIA is being a little negligent, in my opinion, or a little deceiving.
well, you know, Ed, I wouldn't say the CFIA is. I would say that this was the chance for Universal Ostrich Farm, if they were so concerned about the testing being inaccurate, right there, they would have had grounds to challenge that testing and have the courts do an order allowing them to have an independent test and, a real test, not a PCR test. But why? Dear Lord, oh my, but why would they not challenge the testing? Uh huh. Uh huh. That's where the big question comes into play. Why? Any good lawyer, any legal person, the first damn thing they're gonna do is they're gonna challenge that testing because that's the evidence that really is the nail in the coffin. So why would you never challenge it? All the way through everything, you don't challenge it, but yet you scream at everyone you're not allowed to do it because you're gonna get arrested and fined. You're not gonna get arrested and fined if a judge, since you challenge the testing, says, go ahead, you're allowed to get an independent testing, which I don't think any judge would deny. None of them would deny it, but they didn't do it.
Kinetech Pharmaceuticals, Pellich founder, former CEO. Okay, so Connexus Bioinformatics Corporation. There you go.
So there's like several parts to all of this, and there's several parts. These are just some key parts that I wanted to bring up for the purpose of exposing and showing the bullshit grift that really went on here. That's the story behind the story. That's the real story behind the story. That's fucking crazy.
So Pelech affidavit is entirely different light. He has direct financial interests with the antibody industry. He also acknowledges that these ostrich eggs could be worth $48,000 each, assuming they're of good quality. While he may be honest and forthright in his affidavit, all of this is too much to ignore. This isn't about protecting the food supply. That's all emotional blackmail and misdirection. And fuck, man, enough is enough.
Well, that's what I said, Ed. This is why they said they had names. This is why they said they're pets. This is why they said all that bullshit. It's because they are now humanizing the bird in order to play on everyone's feelings in order to keep that money coming in, period.
Yeah, it's too bad Terry Mullis, he wasn't even that old, 72 or 73 or something like that. Heshem's got it nailed down. The whole thing was a scam as they were making things up along the way, like using words like asymptomatic. Now he's talking about COVID-19 probably.
Yeah,
And they still haven't isolated a human being. So what do we need antibodies for? For something
yeah.
that can't be found?
For a synthetic virus, synthetic boys, hear that? Synthetic, man-made.
All right. We're gonna, and again, had they put up netting, CFIA would have backed off. Netting's not that expensive.
No, and you know what? Eventually, it would have got out that they didn't have licensing and stuff, and it would have been a whole other shit show. So, if it wasn't testing in pets and blah 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 blah, it would have been licensing and some other fucking thing that would have went on, and I'm sure, almost guaranteed, that they would have been spun around in some way to humanize them again and get the free dumb movement on board to go push this shit. No, you can't neglect either. You can't neglect the videos I showed of Jim Kerr, that old guy, and Katie Pasitny completely changing the stories of how that one ostrich was supposedly shot through the top of the head, through the side of the head, to the back of the head, down the ear, right turn, straight down. And ultimately, it was fucking laser beams. God damn.
No, I thought it was shot by a drone, wasn't it, at night?
Right at night, but the one guy said it. Somebody was at the fence and shot to the side of the head, and then eventually they were saying it was a drone shooting down through the head, and then they turned around and Pasitny said it was a laser beam that shot it through the top of the head. I got all those videos. They're the funniest fucking. You can't make this shit up, people.
Oh, look at that. Someone found the YouTube channel.
Wow, right on. Whoever did that, excellent.
The channel is called Silver with a capital S is Real Money. The space is in there. Oh, fuck. I didn't know this. They advertised their antibody eggs for eating last year. Ooh.
Oh, I didn't know that. Crazy. Oh, wait. They did have something for kids to was it to paint the eggs or something? I don't know. Did they eat them then too? I don't know. I remember it was something. It's all foggy, so don't quote me on that. But fuck. Could you imagine? You're feeding your kid this egg full of fucking antibodies by Lord knows what, because it's not one thing they were injected by, and it's in the court orders or in the court documents. It was more than one type of shit they injected him with, whatever shit it was they put in him.
Yeah, that's what the Japanese students came from Japan from. And they showed, they were teaching Katie's mom how to inject these birds with these, who knows what. Were they pseudomonases? That's why we don't know if it's gain of function or not, because there's a lot of details missing, not being spoken about. Why don't they come right out and say, okay, we know what the birds were injected with. This is what they got.
They want to keep that all top secret. Remember, in all their samples, they wouldn't give them up either.
Yeah, so how do we know they're not injecting them with toxins or something?
And how do we know the ones they didn't give up or have hidden somewhere that they're not going to inject them into something else?
Yeah. At the end of the day, you know what? It's always at the end of the day, it's always about the money. Always.
Always.
All right. Oh, holy shit. We're almost done an hour already. What else we got here in the chat? Radar, I can't get those DMs up on the screen. I don't know if you can email me the screenshots. What else we got? It's all over the place to make sure they can't ban me as often. I gave you the screenshots to both Facebook and DMs. There should be a part 2 to the segment. I don't think one show is enough to cover this. Man, I'm getting sick of the lies, though. You guys like being lied to? I don't.
You know what I'm sick of, Ed? It's not so much the lies that they put out, because I already know they're lies. But I'm absolutely sick of the fucking idiots, the blind sheep, the free dumb people who follow these people and religiously regurgitate the same line. Like I say, it's got to be fucking scripted, because anyone you hear talking about this shit, it's word for fucking word, no matter where they are or who they are. So they must have printed out a script for them to sit there and fucking read it all out. That's what I'm sick of, hearing the same idiots. It's like, what was it, Climate Barbie? It's out of her playbook. Say it loud enough and repeat it often enough, and they'll believe it. And look, all of these people got brainwashed and sucked in over and over. Hashem, just for you, freedom. All right, there you go.
Key assumptions derived from market test. US dollar 20 ad cost to sell starter package USD 5. Operational performance in a 6-year, no FDA approval. Sales growth to US dollars 803 million. Gross margin growth 70%. Number of customers 2.54 million. Number of vaccinated ostriches 4,000. Operational performance in year 6, FDA approval. Sales growth to US dollars 3.5 billion. Gross margin growth to 70%. Number of customers 11.2 million. Number of vaccinated ostriches 15,000. So this was Universal Ostrich Farm appeal, Belinsky affidavit to stay culling PDF. This is where that came from. So the business case is pretty good. There's a lot of money to be made.
Big bucks, Ed, big bucks. But you know what? It's a lot of money to come out of your own pocket, my money, and everybody else's pocket to fucking fund. What was it, 2.1 billion? Is that what it said? Coming from the Canadian government. So, billion, people, let that sink into your fucking heads. Billion out of your fucking pockets. And then you got grifted into giving more money on top. Attaboy, Hashem.
Meanwhile, we got conservatives crossing the floor, getting applause like crazy. It looks like these communistic laws are going to be passed shortly.
It appeals to all the communists, Ed. Just remember, there's only 2 more that need to cross the floor, and the libs got a majority. So much for the 2-year election period on a minority. Now it'll be 4 years. Look out.
Yeah, you think there's any money to be followed in this one?
Don't even get me going.
Seriously, what do you suspect?
You're fucking right. I've said it a million times. The courts are a self-made economy, man. You push through all of these bills to silence everyone, and illegal wiretap or unconstitutional wiretaps, unconstitutional opening of your mail interception, all of this stuff. Think about it. You think the courts are busy now, and they got a backlog that they got to freaking release murderers and stuff because they didn't have a judge or a courtroom to sit in, or the time period's gone too far. Can you imagine what it's going to turn into? You say one fucking thing on Facebook or whatever. That's it. You're going to the jail, man.
Yeah, but we don't want to be protesting that or making people aware that that's going on. Let's focus on these bio farms, biolabs.
Absolutely, absolutely. The other stuff, and you know what? I'll throw in for good measure. Never mind the conservatives, pure Polyev, that wants to use the notwithstanding clause to strip you of your constitutional rights so you don't get a bail hearing, you don't get a trial, you just go into the jail and you sit there for however long they're in fucking power. Remember, it's 5 years at a time.
Oh, speaking of 5 years at a time, guess who the Crown attorneys are going to take back into court, haul his ass back into court, and they want him to have 5 years now because they weren't able to get 10 years.
Oh, who?
Pat King.
There you go. And wasn't it I that was saying right from the very start, when all of these people first got arrested, challenge it on the Constitution, and not one fucking person done a constitutional challenge. It completely fucking dumbfounds me 100% that nobody challenged it on a constitutional issue. Just amazed me and blew me away.
Well, people aren't, I don't know, people aren't used to going that way, or lawyers. I know in Pat's case, that lawyer that he had before, that I think they ended up, he got time served, I believe, in 6 months or a year of restrictions, and those are coming to an end soon. And guess who else are coming after now for more time?
Oh God, who? Jesus.
Big Red, Chris Barber.
Didn't they want to take his truck? Did they lose on that? I heard something along that. And I seen the RCMP informant, Bridget Belton, was trying to get a GoFundMe going so she could buy it and drive it around.
I don't know. There's something's not right with Bridget. She's upset about who. She explained it to me, but I didn't catch the whole thing. So
She's an RCMP informant, Ed. It came out. I warned everybody. I told everybody even before they got their disclosure. I said, "You watch your disclosure when Tamara gets it." Bridget Belton was the one who is the RCMP informant, and sure enough, boom, there was somebody who went on and said exactly what I said because they had gotten their disclosure, and that's what came out of it. I can always tell a rat. I'm a rat specialist, and I can sniff those mothers out anywhere.
maybe you should go out to Universal Ostrich Farm.
You don't even need to sniff a rat out there. Fuck, come on. Yeah, it was crazy because during all of this bullshit, I was getting calls from people constantly saying all this shit. And I didn't say much about it. I didn't think much about it because of the fact that none of them had any proof. So I'm not about to go say shit without having any proof. I'm not that kind of guy. But this is why when you invite them to come onto the show and say it, all of a sudden they back out. So was it an attempt to try to set me up or anybody else in an attempt to shut them up, saying that you're spreading bullshit, you're defaming them, you're whatever? Maybe. I don't know, but shit like that, that's highly suspect. I don't give a fuck who you are. That's highly suspect when you act like that.
Yeah, I'm just reading Radar's email, and the damn things are so small. I don't think it'd even show up on the StreamYards. Anyways, our hour is past due. Are you coming on next week or not? Because we didn't get to cover the stuff you wanted to cover tonight.
Fuck. I don't know if we can. I don't know if we can. I'll have to talk to Ian and see if we can work around that somehow and get him on. If not, then what else are we gonna do? I do need a break from this stuff though. I know that. So yeah, I don't know. We'll check it out next week. We'll see.
All right. Otherwise, I'll bring in some guests, guys. Looks like I'm going to be going alone. Oh, I'm deer hunting next Thursday.
Bring on a doe or two.
Bring on a doe or two. They're going to be dead.
Just as bad, just as good.
People don't want to see dead deer. Anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. If you found any value in this, share it out because we're getting shadow banned like crazy. And it's a joke. Like, they just don't want the truth getting out. Have a good one. Later.
See ya.